All right, and welcome into the FantasyPros Fantasy Football Podcast. We're back with the Week 6 primer episode where we'll give you our top 6 sleeper starts for matchups to exploit. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and today I'm joined by the Smitty Werbin Jaegerman Jensen of the FP staff. That's right, he was number 1. It's Derek Brown, fresh off a first-place finish in Week 5's ECR rankings accuracy competition. DBro, have you made room on the shelf for the trophy yet?
Oh, dude. Look, I will keep it a buck here. I'm probably going to fall back for it, man. Like, if I were a betting man, and I am, I think Pat Fitzmaurice is going to lap me, and he'll end up higher than me in when it's all said and done. And other people, Mike Mayer and others at Fantasy Pros, will end up higher than me in the rankings when it's all said and done. But I'm enjoying the hot streak, dude. And just to give full clarity of everybody, first in rankings for Week 5, and I'm actually top 5 in full season rankings, and I am first in running back rankings so far. So I'm not telling you that's how it ends the rest of the season. We turn over the rest of the cards. I'm just being honest. But baby, I'm enjoying the hot streak. Heck yes.
Let's let it ride, man. Did you get the SpongeBob reference there too? I don't know if that was
before you.
Okay.
No. I got it.
All
That's what got me at the beginning. I started coughing because I was laughing. I was like, what the? We really went full SpongeBob. Love it.
We did. Absolutely. Quick shout out to our people who are rocking and rolling with us on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel or the audio feed. Thank you so much for all the support so far this season. Please give this video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. And if you wanted a chance to win a signed A.J. Brown Philadelphia Eagles jersey for free, courtesy of our friends over at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to fantasypros.com/contest, complete the form, and either A, download that sweet Fantasy Pros app, B, leave a review for this podcast, or C, follow us on X, Instagram, or TikTok. We're at Fantasy Pros. The more actions you complete, the more entries you're going to receive, and we will be announcing a winner right here on the channel earlier this month, or next month, excuse me. And if you're watching here on YouTube, please subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new videos are up and to claim your prize if you are that lucky winner. DBro, let's jump into the quarterback position where you have a QB trying to get maybe a little sweet revenge on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to go with Jared Goff. He's down at QB 18 and QB 15 in ECR, excuse me. And he's QB 18 in fantasy points per game. So I understand, like, a lot of people are like, really? Like, he doesn't run. We all talked about regression. Dude, Jared Goff is playing amazing football. And I know it is not consistently crossed over to the fantasy streets for production every week. But to give him his flowers, amongst 40 qualifying passers, this dude is top 12 in yards per attempt. He leads the freaking NFL in passing touchdowns. He's top 12 in highly accurate throw rate and hero throw rate. And I'm not telling anybody that the Chiefs are a pushover gimme matchup. I understand they've allowed the 14th fewest yards per attempt and the 9th lowest passer rating. But there are avenues to Jared Goff. One, Detroit, for you to get the explosion games out of a lot of the different weapons outside of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery on the ground, you need a team that can push the Lions into that nuclear type of spot where they go off and Jared Goff gets 350 and 3 or 350 and 4.
Yeah.
And so considering the constitution of the Lions defense right now, their secondary is extremely banged up. Terrion Arnold's going to miss time. DJ Reed is out. The Chiefs are going to be able to move the ball and push the Lions into that type of mode where it is, we got to score points and in bunches. And Jared Goff, the one thing that I was worried about coming into this year with the OC change, were we going to get as much play action? Baby, we're getting it. And that's one of the keys to this matchup. And people say, okay, the Chiefs have a good pass defense, but how can Jared Goff get one over on them? How does that happen? It is with the use of play action. Goff right now has the 3rd highest play action dropback rate in the NFL. He's 4th in yards per attempt and 2nd in passing touchdowns when utilizing play action. And this matters because KC has struggled. As good as Steve Spagnuolo's defense is and will be, they have struggled with play action to this point. They're giving up the highest yards per attempt and the 3rd highest pass rating to play action. So I think this is a good ceiling opportunity. Lions are going to get pushed. They got to pass. KC, it is much easier to pass on them than it is to run in a lot of different aspects. I think Goff's in for a good day, dude.
I think Jared Goff in this almost entire Lions pass catching group was one of my biggest blunders in my draft rankings, DBro, because I was just not high on them. And like right now,
you were banking in regression. We talked about this in the offseason. You were like, they were so stinking good. Some of that has to come back to the mean, right? And that's not a bad process thing, but like, they're still a really freaking good team. I know, crazy to hear, huh?
Well, and he's leading the league right now in passing touchdown, folks. That rating will come down a little bit. It's an 8.3% touchdown clip, so I don't expect that to happen, but he's number 7 in money throws. He right now is getting red zone passing attempts too, more than we saw Ben Johnson willing to do it. When they're getting in tight, they're letting Jared Goff sling it around the yard there. And look, I don't think there's more motivation he needs than going up against a Kansas City team that he's been so close at beating before. He beat them last year in week number 1. I love Jared Goff, also leads the league right now in QBR. So Goff, I think this week, I mean, is there a better stat? Name a better stack you'd rather have this week than Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe a Mecca and Baker, maybe?
Maybe, but this is kind of goes back to a process thing too. Like last week we talked about Sam Darnold. I hope people played him too in spots where they're going to be forced to pass. The matchup is there. This is another one where you go back to the well, where it's a quarterback that, and honestly, this could be talked about like Matthew Stafford in weeks prior, whenever we talked about him too. It's like these quarterbacks that are playing at such a ridiculously high level, but some of this hasn't consistently crossed over to fantasy point production on a weekly basis, especially for these guys that we know all of their production has to come to the air because they're not running. So really, can that happen? And I mean, dude, we've been hitting on all these guys, so why not Goff this week?
Let's go to the running back position here, DBro, where you have a duo of running backs.
Yep.
One of them who is trying to make his old coach from college proud once again with the start. Who is it?
So I got to bring it up because I know both of these guys are going to be talked about a lot, and people are going to say, what do I do with either one of these guys? And I'm saying both of these guys are flex viable, and that's Hassan Haskins and Kimani Vidal. Like Haskins is at RB35, Vidal's at RB37. I think they're both RB3, so I'm in a range kind of with ECR here. But both of these guys are flex worthy this week. And I'm not telling you that both of them pay off, but there is a world we can live in that happens. Last week, we could talk about, and I could get into the nitty gritty about snaps and carries and target share. Just know that basically these guys play the exact same amount. They got the exact same usage. I mean, it is almost a mirror image of itself when you talk about how they were utilized without Amari and Hampton last week. So both of these guys are going to get usage this week. I think this is going to be a hot hand approach. And if I have to bet on one of these guys, it's Kimani Vidal, only because I'm a bigger believer in the talent and that winning out in the short and long term in this backfield until Hampton possibly comes back. Vidal has 2.83 yards after contact per carry in his career. He has 3 runs of at least 10 yards. He's forced missed tackles on 17% of his plays. Those numbers all trump anything that Haskins has ever done. He's got a 2.54 yards after contact career mark. He's only had 2 runs of 10 or more yards and 65 career carries. So if I'm picking one of these guys to flex, if you got both of them off the waiver wire, it's Vidal for me. But honestly, both of them are flex worthy. There is a world we could be living in where, because here's the other part. If you were to tell me that the Dolphins fall apart, the Chargers, this is a big comeback game for them, where they just drop like a 30 spot on this team or 35, 40 points on this team, and the Dolphins fold and they're sitting their starters in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't be surprised. But in that type of game script, maybe Haskins gets the early touchdown and Vidal gets run late, or vice versa. But both of these guys, the bar to be a flex-worthy player is very low.
Yes.
They both have the talent and the opportunity to both clear that bar, especially when we're talking about pull up any metric. Any metric. I promise you the Dolphins are going to be top 5 in almost everything you look at versus running backs. They've given up the most rushing yards per game, the highest explosive run rate, and yards after contact per attempt. And this freaking run defense has also given up the 8th highest missed tackle rate. So both of these guys are flex worthy, and I'm not telling you both of them get 15 opportunities, but could both of them get 8 to 12 opportunities? It's possible this week, Seth. So I got to highlight them because I know that they're going to be in the conversation for flexes based off of bye weeks, lineups, injuries, and what have you for fantasy GMs.
Look, and I hate to be, the guy to walk down narrative street, but I always think there's a little bit of a chip on the shoulder of Justin Herbert when he's going up against the Miami Dolphins, who passed on him in the draft for Tua. So you have that. I think they get out to a good lead. And at the same time here, Derek, you mentioned the Miami Dolphins. They've succeeded the most rushing yards to opposing running backs this season. They haven't done it on a ton of volume because you haven't needed to, because you can gash the Dolphins. And also when you look at receiving yards for running backs this season, only one team has allowed more receiving yards to opposing backs. It's the Dallas Cowboys, of course. So I think this is a great spot here. I think it is very, very much a business trip for Jim Harbaugh and this Chargers team going down to Miami. And I think they're going to lay the wood to him, man. They're going to take him out back behind the shed. And I don't know if they're coming out of that one. I don't know if they're coming out.
I think the Chargers are going to put up some points, man. So if that's the case, both these running backs are going to definitely be in play.
Dominate your fantasy football league with FantasyPros Premium, now available for free for 6 months when you deposit and place your first wager at any of our partner sportsbook. And yes, that includes Hard Rock Bet, baby. This is the easiest way to get full access to our top fantasy football tools all season long. Just go to fantasypros.com/premium to get yourself started. Derek, let's go to the wide receiver position here, where you have one wide receiver in particular staying home in Lucas Oil Stadium. Been a little bit of a disappointment so far, but you think he gets things together against a Cardinals team that might be thrown in the towel after last week's second half performance.
Yeah, dude, I think it's a good spot for Josh Downs to get going. And what do we see? And he's been a player that hasn't even made the primer on some weeks because he's been like a 40 to 50% route share type of player. But last week we saw a season high 72% route share. I mean, basically he hit season high marks across the board. 21.9% target share, 54 receiving yards. He got almost a 30% first read share, and he finished with 11.4 PPR points. That's another season high. Mm-hmm. So you look at, he's getting the usage, he's playing more. The matchup this week is really, really good, Seth. As good as the Cardinals defense has been in certain weeks and spots, and if you look at season-long numbers, they have struggled to defend slot receivers. They've given up the fifth most fantasy points per game to opposing slot receivers and the second most receiving yards to the position. So Josh Downs, wheels up, dude. He's a wide receiver 45 in ECR. I'm probably going to have him somewhere in the wide receiver 3 range. I'm very bought in on Josh Downs having a good game this week.
Yeah, it's been a really nice resurgence for him. I kind of left him dead out in the water coming into the draft season just because I thought Tyler Warren would take a lot of that volume away. Tyler Warren's volume actually kind of going down a little bit while Josh Downs rising up. So we've certainly seen a shifting in the tides there. And I don't know if you watched much of that Titans game last week, DBro, but DK, very involved out of the slot. We've seen it time and time again. Cooper Kupp had a couple receptions out of there. I think it's a volume floor play here for Josh Downs. I don't know if the upside is crazy, but we go back only to week 3. Ricky Pearsall took him 8 for 117 as well. So it's certainly within the cards here, I think. And even your boy Hunter Renfrow, I know you got some love for him. He found the end zone twice against this defense as well. So as to your point, slot receivers have been mashing against Arizona.
Yeah, but to also converse to your point too, about the ceiling. Just take his stat line from last week. Take the stat line from last week and you take the 11.4 in PPR. Toss a touchdown on top of that.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that's wide receiver 2 production. So I don't think that we're asking, it's not a bridge too far to expect a ceiling wide receiver 2 type production out of Josh Downs this week. I think it definitely can happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's due, man. I think he is due for some regression positively to get him in the end zone, find some pay dirt there. And you also like another wide receiver here this week, Derek, and kind of goes back to the same theme of almost this entire episode of fill-in players.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a caveat with this. Kendrick Bourne, again, being very high on him also is going to take Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, both sitting, but I think both of those things happen. So at the timing of the recording of this, we don't have that information. Well, Pearsall, he's expected to be out, but Jennings, we don't have any news on him. He did miss practice on Wednesday, so I'm just being transparent about this call and how we're projecting this. But if both of those guys are out, I think that we're going to get, the matchup is great. And Kendrick Bourne was the unquestioned wide receiver 1 for the 49ers last week. Dude got a 22.4% target share. Everybody saw the receiving yards he put up. He got a 25% first read share. He looked like Kendrick Bourne from a few years ago. last week, and he looked really freaking good doing it. And now you put the matchup against the Buccaneers up here, where it's one, they've given up the 13th most fantasy points per game to perimeter wide receivers. So check that box. Jamel Dean might be back, but even if he's back this week, we know he's not 100%, and he's not shadowing, so who cares? Zion McCollum is hurt, probably out. Benjamin Morrison is still hurt. He's not going to play. So even if Dean is back in the lineup, this secondary is not at full strength. And so Mac Jones is going to be getting the ball out of his hands. You cannot run on the Buccaneers. They're going to have to lean more into the passing game. So looking at all the parts and pieces of this matchup, Kendrick Bourne just feels like free money at wide receiver 41 in ECR right now.
Yeah, I have big FOMO of not picking up last week before the breakout performance. 11 targets in that game. Of course, you're going to have some Demarcus Robinson out there as well. He had 7 targets of his own. We had Jake Tongs take 11 targets. And like, Mac Jones is not the worst quarterback in the world. Like, there's not a huge gap, I think, between like Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence. Like, I think
BTJ says hi. Come back, Mac. Come back.
Like right now, if we're ranking quarterbacks 1 to 32 in the NFL, you can't tell me Mac Jones isn't at least in the top 32. I think he's there.
It's fair.
So,
fair.
Yeah, I really like Kendrick Bourne. You know, not only for this week, but I don't know when Jawan Jennings ever gets back, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah, he's been banged up all week. And Tampa Bay, they are not going to take their foot off the gas, man. They are rolling right now.
They're going to push him. They're going to push him.
So I like Kendrick Bourne a lot this week as well, DBro. Tight end, though. This is where I don't want to push back, but I do have... I think,
push back! Tell me! Come on!
I think the entire community is starting to sour on one Zach Ertz, who had a great resurgent year coming off the torn ACL last year in Washington, and it just has been a little bit up and down for him so far this season, though, Derek.
It has been very up and down, but a lot of this comes down to coverage matchups and when Zach Ertz is utilized and when he's not utilized. So just to like a broader conversation we could have here, Seth, teams that play a lot of single high coverage, unless you're a tight end that can beat man coverage, can line up on the perimeter, most tight ends are not going to do a lot versus teams that run a lot of single high coverage. A lot of teams are going more to 2 high coverage, and that's helping a lot of tight ends out. That's helping Zach Ertz out, and that's why I have to bring him up here. The fact that he's tight end 14 in ECR, I'm going back to the well, and if anybody saw the primary updates, if you go back and you can read it, go back and read the article right now. Receipts are out there. Whenever I went back to the data about Zach Ertz last week, and I looked closer about the Chargers and stuff, I said, dude, I'm out. You don't need to play him. I looked deeper into it, and that proved to be correct. But I'm back in this week, Seth, because the coverage matchup does go back into the favor of Zach Ertz. You look at the Bears and what they've done, and this has been a Dennis Allen thing. He's been a big 2 high believer, going back all the way back to the Saints. They ran a lot of 2 high and stuff like that before. The Bears run 2 high at the second highest rate in the NFL right now, almost 63% of the defensive snaps. And people say, why do you highlight this? And why does it matter, single high versus 2 high? Because it matters how defenses play and how offenses are going to attack them. If a defense is made to keep you from stretching the field and funnels everything underneath, your running backs are going to get more play in the passing game, your slot receivers and your tight ends, and this coverage matchup leans itself for Zach Ertz. Against 2 high this year, Seth, Zach Ertz, 20.8% target share, 2.26 yards per route run, and a 32.3% first read share. So yes, I'm going back to the Zach Ertz well. He's going to be a tight end 1 for me in rankings.
Look, I get the call. I totally do, honestly. And like, I think game script could be in your favor because if I know anything about Buffalo, when they play these elite teams, they're not afraid
they're playing the Bears this week.
Oh, sorry, Chicago Bears. So I guess
the Bears are going to push them. The Bears are going to push them, though, to your point, though.
Yeah, especially with the motivation from last year's, Hail Mary.
The Commanders' defense has not played good this year to this point. So, do we think that Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams can't have a good day and push the Commanders? They're going to.
Yeah, I think the other thing kind of leaning towards Zach Ertz's favor is when he's needed him, he has been a very trusty weapon for Jayden Daniels. Right now, quarterback rating per target, 7th among the tight end position right now. Fantasy points per target as well, 8th. So he's doing the most with what he's getting. We just need to see a bit more volume here, and you're kind of calling your shot that you think he gets that volume in a week where if Terry McLaurin's back, he's not going to be at 100%.
He's not going to play. I don't think McLaurin plays. I was going to say that's another feather in his cap. I think McLaurin's going to be out.
How many more targets can Debo take too? I mean, this guy saw 11 targets last week. It just feels like I don't know if I want to be giving him that many touches for a guy who has a little bit of an injury history there in Washington. So
you're not wrong.
DBro, great stuff on the primer, not just this video version, but also the YouTube short that will be out and also the written version. How many words you got in this week? 10,000, 12,000, 20,000?
After revisions, I'm at like around 17,000, but then I've still got to go back and I've got to update about injuries, basically the entire 49ers passing attack. Once we get word about who's in, who's out, all that kind of stuff. They'll probably end up somewhere in the 19,000 word range. We'll see.
Get those hands on ice, baby. Get them on ice. We need them for next week. That is going to do it for us on this episode of the FantasyPros Fantasy Football Podcast. Comment down below your favorite Week 6 sleeper starts. And while you're here, make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you're new. For Derek Brown, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.